They are decimated right now. They're going to give up nuclear weapons. They're going to give us the nuclear dust. They're going to do everything that we want to do. And you know what? They're going to go on and maybe have a great country again. But if they don't do that, they're not going to have a country.
President Trump last night doubling down and warning that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, as about 3,500 sailors and Marines aboard the USS Tripoli arrived in the Mideast over the weekend. But as the president reportedly weighs a high-stakes ground operation, he told reporters that a deal with Iran could come soon. Meanwhile, a rally being held in Washington, D.C. on Sunday in support of the operation to remove the Iranian regime. Just take a look at some of these crowds. Those demonstrators could be heard chanting things like, "Thank you, Trump," USA, "Long live Iran." And joining me now is David Tafuri, former State Department official and international lawyer. David, good morning to you. It's always a pleasure to have you on. The president saying Iran will give up nuclear weapons, as the Wall Street Journal reports that he's weighing a U.S. military operation to extract Iran's uranium inside the country. How likely is such an operation in your eyes, just given the enormity of the challenges involved there?
Well, now that we are more than 1 month into the war, it does feel like we're going to go into another phase. And what's not clear is that phase talks and potentially ceasefire with some sort of peace agreement, or is that an escalation by the U.S. using ground troops either to go in and to neutralize Iran's ability to develop nuclear weapons, or to take an area like Karg Island, which would give the U.S. a lot of influence over Iran's export of oil, which is how it gets most of its revenues. And with all of these U.S. troops heading to the Middle East, you mentioned the Marines that are on the USS Tripoli. There are also airborne Rangers that are going to the Middle East, and another 10,000 potential ground troops that could be used for an invasion of Iran. It sounds like the U.S. is at least trying to send a message to Iran that it's ready to invade. However, it's not clear if President Trump will give that order.
And what do you make of the military buildup happening right now? You know, you crunch the numbers, everybody that's over there on their way. Is that a sign to you that a ground operation is imminent or inevitable at some point?
It's a pretty good sign because of the forces that are being sent, and because you don't normally send these types of forces into a theater unless you're going to use them. But it could also be a bluff to show Iran that we're ready to do it, and then put more pressure on Iran for purposes of negotiation. So it's not entirely clear, but I think it's more than likely that we'll at least take something like Karg Island, which would give us additional leverage over the Iranian regime.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, myself included, just trying to read the tea leaves here, wondering what this means, what comes next. President Trump then extended this grace window to next Monday, April 6th. And Pakistan says it's going to host talks between the United States and Iran. I mean, we've had a pretty rocky relationship with Pakistan, right, since 2001. Does their involvement benefit one side over the other?
Well, we do have a somewhat tense relationship with Pakistan, but it is an ally, and it's viewed as an ally around the world. And especially there are pretty close ties between the U.S. military and the Pakistani military. And I believe it's the Army Chief of Staff who's involved in some of these discussions between the U.S. and Iran. So Pakistan has become a key interlocutor. It's very interesting that perhaps direct talks could take place in Pakistan. There are no concrete plans for that, but Pakistan has mentioned it, and I believe has invited both sides, the U.S. and Iran. As far as we know, there actually have not been any direct talks. So perhaps the envoy for Trump, Witkoff, is talking to Iran and some Iranian leaders, although we don't know who, through Pakistan, and maybe through some other intermediaries like Egypt or Turkey or Oman. So that's all we know about these potential discussions. If there would be a meeting in Pakistan, that would be very interesting and high stakes.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.